Hello, and welcome. Silrace here with some World of Tanks and do a nice jump. Someone might remember an old video of mine, well, not so old, but older, where I do a nice jump with a Hellcat. There is an awesome map for that kind of things, but they changed the map around a little. Anyway, let's talk about something else than jumps. Let's talk about World of Tanks. So this is me playing T21, right? I had this tank researched a while ago. I just never got around to buying it and actually playing it because I have never been a really good like a scout player or well, light tank player in general. I have played tank destroyers and medium tanks the most. Those seem to fit my playstyle the best because I'm not quite so rush into them to die and stuff. Right. So light tanks, well, let's be honest, they are occasionally really bad, especially when you give them to the hands of absolute newbies. As you can see, the Lux on our team has been, well, killed off already. This is the usual course of action because for some unknown reason Wargaming decided that, well, there has to be tier 4 tanks in tier 7 and above games because who knows why. Thankfully they are at least doing something to change that, apparently. So such is the rumors. Let's see if that holds true and actually they remove all tier 4 tanks from the tier 8 plus games, because that would like make sense and stuff. As for this particular game, I think this is the second game I ever played in T21, and for all this footage you will see in this whole video, I do not even have 100% crew. I have 75% crew when I just bought this damn thing. So I'm being really cautious with this, you know, scouting business, and something I have figured ages ago, well, whether that is being a scout or whatever, and that's also something hilarious I found out while playing scout, but I'll talk about that in just a sec. You can see the smoke there, huh? So what am I talking about in general? Staying alive. It's like, staying alive, being alive is pretty damn important, and suddenly I can ignore the Churchill because there's a tank destroyer trying to kill me. And TDs, tank destroyers, are funky. They always do this sort of stuff. Well, some of them, not all of them. They just essentially turn in circles and don't drive backwards or forwards to help the turning or being able to get the shot on. And then there is a another scout coming for me, and that will be a hit, and we can move on to another replay. Okay, and we are on Fisherman's Bay next. And previous map, Ruinberg on Fire. I don't know what to think of that map yet. I mean, it's obviously just a reskin of Ruinberg, but well, some of the color scheme looks really wonky in certain places due to the fire effect. I mean, the fire effects are pretty good. This map, well, as you can see, we've already spotted a couple of tanks in middle. This is usual course of action. I'm just driving around and so on due to, well, and also someone collided with me at the very start of this game, took some of my health off, because people still have not learned how to drive in this damn game. It's apparently too difficult. But to get to my point, I was about to make towards the end of the previous replay, is that people in this game are really distracted by the first target they see. And that is something I learned really well now, basically because by the time I'm making these videos out of these replays, I have finished making my way through T21 to get to the T71. See this? Too bad I do not manage to track this guy, even though I was trying. However, people really get distracted by things they see first. That means, well, rather, it includes having artillery shoot at a fast-moving scout. It's like when you are driving around at 40 kilometers an hour, and you are the first things enemies see, then you can pretty much expect the first couple artillery shells to land somewhere near you as well. It's kind of funny. It's like, why don't you folks, like, with those artillery pieces and whatnot, like, prepare for proper targets in the bottlenecks which exist on most maps and whatnot, and so on. But yeah, that also means on certain maps scouting can be well, it can be detrimental to the success of your team if you are scouting extremely well. Think of, for example, Malinovka, Kampinovka as some call it. If you happen to go through the middle, or you happen to find a nice bush where you can spot the enemies by the moment they start moving out of their base at the very start of the game, you can easily end up having the entirety of your team simply sitting at their own spawn, shooting across the field, and no one is going up the hill. I mean, next time you play light tank on Malinovka or whatnot, see how often that actually happens. Do a little bit of tracking on it, because I was doing some tracking on it while I was playing this tank, and I ran into Malinovka a few times, and it's like, okay, I might not want to scout the middle of the field like at the start, because it distracts the entirety of my team. And essentially, when playing a light tank, you are kind of the eyes for your team. Frankly, it doesn't happen all the time that you provide vision for absolutely everyone, you get all this spotting damage for every single tank and all that jazz. But what you can see me doing here is I am simply keeping eyes on this Arl. The Arl is being distracted by me and finally killed off, eh? Sure, I was getting side shots at the Arl as well, because he was shooting at other things, but that's how it goes, eh? You easily can keep eyes on things other tanks cannot, because of speed, because of maneuverability, and you might not have the damage to do stuff. And now there is a T22 here, which I really don't want to face all that much, and I need to keep moving because they have artillery. By now though, the artillery should be distracted by the higher tier targets. Well, more important targets than me anyways, if the artillery has serious brains. However, many times I also find that artillery players, I guess they are annoyed at being killed by scouts and whatnot so often that, well, they try to shoot you anyway, even though there are more important targets. Another thing I find is, well, the whole noobs team thing that actually never does anything. Just thought I'd mention that. If you are one of those players who wants to insult your team after a loss, insulting people does not make them play better. Okay? Just so you know for the future. I mean, encouraging them to play better does it. Insulting people does not. Okay? Hopefully that point hit home. Anyway, as I was about to say, some of these artilleries are, like I said, they really want you dead. And other tanks do too. It's like, if they see a low health target, such as, well, T21 can be one-shotted by quite a number of tier 10 tanks. Even some tier 9 tank destroyers can do it. And so when you come around a corner along with a much more dangerous target, probably someone ends up shooting at you because you have lower hit points. They figure that if they can kill you, they can remove a gun from the battlefield, which in essence is a realistic factor to consider. Sure, if they kill you, then your gun won't be shooting anymore. However, as you can see from the damage numbers in this game I am hitting these things for, taking away a T21's gun, as opposed to, let's say, IS or IS-3, something like this, which is freaking big gun, okay? So, might want to consider some of your shots you take in these games a little more thoroughly. Yeah, and then that is my replay, well, reply always. When people do spam pings and whatnot and so on. But let's move on to another replay.
That was close. Go on the road.
And the third replay is on Komarin. This map, they had it out of rotation for quite a while, and then they put it back in. And I don't think they fixed it enough. At least that's how I feel about the map, because too often this map becomes a really boring campfest where everyone is afraid to move because of tank destroyers or artillery pieces on the enemy team absolutely murdering you. Like, there is no big hills anywhere which you could use for artillery cover. There is too much way open terrain with bushes at the ends for tank destroyers to hide in and such. And there, yeah, this is the place also where I wish I was using binoculars instead of coated optics, because for example, you saw that tree fall, but I don't have the view range to actually spot the tank which went that way there. And that's particularly because I don't have 100% crew, or didn't rather at this point, and also did not have binoculars. I used coated optics, or rather opted to use coated optics instead, because I move around so much, as you can see from the replays you have seen here. That was a weirdly formed sentence, but we will roll with it. So time to move out of that position, scouting position, and have some side shots on Dane, so let's put this gun to work, because I'm absolutely willing to shoot at couple, well, the side of a couple tanks, because bonus damage, less things, enemy, have less health they have, the more good things are happening. And this is where I start really providing eyes for the team. There is an ELC, put a shot into it, but didn't track the ELC. I was a little worried I would be, getting shot to the face as soon as I was spotted. And then pull back enough to be behind the ridge and start poking around for these guys. And also, I move back and forth all the time, just a little, to make sure that if there is an artillery looking at me, that said artillery kind of at least has a little harder time hitting me. And I kind of like what this FV304 did, to take that quick British artillery to the middle there. Because I had a nice side shot to the ELC and blew up the ELC. And then I poke over this ridge and come back down. I don't wait for 6th sense, because I don't even have 6th sense, that sort of stuff. And then check out these two guys again. So, as you can tell, I have XVM on, and you can see that I don't actually have, Unicom level stats in this game. And there's a KV3 putting a shot into me. Return fire! That did nothing, and then this guy turns to face me as well, so it's time to freaking hide, huh? So now I have to start being much more careful, because I'm suddenly very low on HP. Basically everything I face is going to be able to one-shot me. Now. So yeah. And this is where I do a little reply in the chat as well, because that is, I still find that so hilarious. So anyway. But as I was about to mention, I don't have Unicom level stats. However, when I play the game, I also play to improve my play with a particular type of a tank, instead of just, driving forward and not worrying about possibly dying and so on. Put a couple more shots into the KV3 and can get away with things. But one more thing I want to talk about in this particular video, which I can put in towards the end of this replay here, and let you just watch it while I talk about some other things. And that is all the people out there who play usually tank destroyers and artillery pieces were spam happy with the whole ping command and willing to sit back in a bush, use everyone else as their scout and just happy to do their damage. I mean, I in general have nothing against that playstyle. As long as you are effective for your team, you can do whatever the heck you want. But if you also then insult people, spamming the map and try to tell them where to go to spot for you, then yeah, you'll probably end up in my ignore list during or right after that particular game. And I'm never going where you ping. Why? Because typically people ping straight at the enemies, and they don't realize that if a scout drives straight towards the enemies, the scout ends up dead. The artillery or TD or whatever happens to be doing this spam pinging and so on, typically ends up getting off one shot towards the enemy, and then the enemy goes into hiding again, because the scout is dead and no longer providing vision. So if a scout is not going where you are pinging, you might want to, learn to play a scout yourself to find that stuff out, instead of actually spending your time insulting them in the chat and asking people to report them for being bad or being, having no brains or whatever. Because I had a lot of games like that. It's like over half of the games where I was playing this T21, which I've now gotten away from and moved to T71, but over half of the games I had someone insulting me because I wasn't scouting the way they hoped I would be scouting. I mean, if you look at these couple replays, yeah, there are places I could have done better. I mean, I have taken shots and stuff, right? But I would say my scouting was at least rather effective. I mean, I didn't top the scoreboards or anything, but I was always above midway of the, about the midpoint of the scoreboard every single game on these things. I had a couple of really bad games, obviously, when I used the first couple games where I had no clue how this tank handles and whatnot. But I learned pretty quickly. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, for hanging out. I might do some more scout replays if that is the sort of thing people want to see, and I'll definitely do some other kind of play with World of Tanks. But yeah, remember, don't insult your teammates. It never turns out to be a good thing for anyone. Thank you very much for watching.